You kept pushing on, but then you went too far. When your ship has sailed and all your dreams are lost, everything is wrong, you feel like it's your fault. Just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life feels lemons, just hold me. Just hold me. Just hold me. You're stronger now than you ever been. You gotta leave now, it's time to catch the wind. You will climb up high and look through the clouds. And when you're feeling low, I know you'll bounce back. Oh, and just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just hold me. Just hold me. Just hold me. Just hold me.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Sim Racing Media. We are live here at the Virtual Auto Club Speedway for the Dynasty Racing League Pro Series. And I tell you what, we have got an absolute thriller in the books here for you today. For the first time, this group is taking on the new high horsepower configuration of these ARCA cars. We're going to see these guys hitting speeds that they have not hit this season before, maybe with the exception of Daytona, in the draft, but these guys will be hitting over 200 miles an hour getting down into turn number 1, and that's going to throw these guys for an absolute loop. I am Liam Irving, joined up in the booth by Matt Metler. And Matt, we raced with these boys last night in their test session, trying to get a couple of things configured and correct for this one. We had a blast, but these guys are fast.
Yeah, these guys are bad fast, and you have a whole new respect for them when you're on the track with them. Then you throw in the greatest glitch in iRacing history. That car was an absolute beast. You put that car, that horsepower out there with the Dynasty Racing League guys at this racetrack. I had a smile plastered on my face all day today looking forward to this race tonight. And how about that? These guys are here at Auto Club Speedway. The last time they were at speeds excess of 201 miles an hour, going into turn 1, you got to go all the way back, I believe, to 2007, right before the COT car. And that's what we have here tonight. A lot more horsepower, a bigger RPM range. Let's see what this change to this race car does to the elites in the ARCA series. What a storyline. It's going to be epic tonight, and I'm glad I'm up here to call it with you.
Absolutely. I'm glad I'm not down here on the racetrack facing these challenges. Obviously, like I mentioned, we were there last night racing with these boys, trying to get some extra research done for tonight's race. But these cars are on fire. They are absolutely quicker than quick. They are Lightning McQueen right here. They are speed. As you watch Austin Collins right now go down the back straightaway, he's our quickest in practice right now with a 39.63, just a touch faster than Richard Springer in that number 21 machine, rocking a Motorcraft. And look at Austin Collins getting down there into the pit lane. We'll continue to show you some of the exciting action going on track, but also we've got our weather update. The Fontana 200, 100 laps here at Fontana, 200 miles, 65 degrees, and the track temp sitting right around there as well with 66 degrees. So these cars are going to have a little bit more grip than they're used to, a little bit more wind than we're used to with 12 miles an hour. Might play a factor going down the straightaways here, but obviously we're not sure of the direction of that wind at the moment. We'll see if we can maybe get a quick update on the weather.
Yes, take a look at the weather here. You know, a couple of the points you mentioned, 65-degree track temperatures. It's the nighttime. It's not the hot LA sun beating down on that asphalt. What's that going to do? It's going to take this package, which has just re-energized this car. It's going to give it maximum potential grip, which is going to translate into maximum speed at the early part of these runs. We're basically putting the best possible package together for everyone that's watching right now on this YouTube channel. If you're ready to see this Dynasty Racing League go next level, you're going to hear the screams of that engine, the speeds, feel it, you know, these cars going by, rocketing around this racetrack. This is going to be action-packed from flag to flag. I think this is going to be one we're going to look back on for some time, personally. I'm psyched about tonight. The weather, a couple miles an hour here, wind change in direction. It's not going to hurt him too bad. But I think the big storyline here, again, is just going to be these changes to this race car. You know, can Austin Collins, Thomas Harmon, Taylor Butcher Benjamin, what a battle we saw last week, right? Does this new horsepower, this new animal that's been implemented into this ARCA car, does that allow someone that we haven't seen yet, another first-time winner this year? Or does this fall right into the hands of the guys that have been right up front? Only time will tell.
Yeah, based on last night's race that we, like I said, we participated in, Austin Collins was super fast. So was the 42 of David Wright on the long run. So those are two names that I'm expecting to be strong. But of course, we look up in the top 5 here in terms of practice times. We've got names like Springer, Burgess, obviously Austin Collins, Thomas Harmon, and Taylor Butcher Benjamin. They're out there with some of the faster times here. But I tell you what, keep an eye on some of those guys up there like Burgess and that 21 machine.
Yeah, well said.
Richard Springer. As now we jump up into qualifying. Thomas Harmon, first one out onto the racetrack.
Yeah, Thomas the Hammer Harmon, he's got the most wins, and he is your points leader. And he's going to be taking that out on the racetrack. So far here, you see him get up to speed there past the exit cone. With all this new horsepower, this extra speed, you would think that's going to change the lineup around the racetrack, right?
Yeah, I would kind of assume so. I feel like with the horsepower on these cars, we're going to see these guys gravitate a lot more towards the outside, just being able to keep that momentum up, keep the horsepower, the revs all the way up at the top of the limit. I think we're really going to see the outside lane turn out to be dominant. I might be wrong, but that's my bold guesstimation here at the beginning of this thing as we watch Thomas Harmon rock that outside on lap number 1. A couple other drivers out on the racetrack. Larry McKenzie just got out there. JP just started his lap. TBB getting ready to start his lap. David Wright out here on his first lap. Not sure if I've got a trading paints issue there with the 42 machine, but it's showing 2 different cigarette companies.
Yeah, that That's different. I don't think it was quite like that in real life when Jimmy Spencer drove it, but it was close.
It was definitely close, but now we go up to the top of the board. We see the top 5 actually not displaying at the moment. We apologize for that, but
Yeah, top of the leaderboard right now. There's no stranger. 42, David Wright. He was another guy, like you said, was bad fast last night, especially on the long run. Coming in right now at a 40 flat. Second place, Richard Springer in that 21 machine coming in at 40.15. Look how tight these guys are, the top 3. Third spot, Taylor, the Butcher Benjamin at a 41.8.
Springer with a 39.76 jumps up to the top of the board on lap number 2. Let's see if TBB, next car to complete a lap, is going to be able to do it. JP puts down a lap of 40.13. So that puts him in third place. TBB across the line. Let's see where he can place. He goes to the top of the board with a 39.75. Provisional pole for that 8 machine. Andrew McKenzie jumps up into 6th. JP back down to 5th. PJ O'Leary in 4th. And James Goodman going to complete his second lap here. So is Larry McKenzie Jr. James Jacobs as well. Comes across turn number 4. Let's see where he places. Hasn't put down a time yet. Comes across the line. Hoping to jump up into that top 10, top 8. Unable to get a time down there. He might have touched the wall just a little bit.
Yeah, Springer brought the ringer into the 39-second bracket. Taylor the Butcher Benjamin, as you said, on the provisional pole. 2 guys right now that are inside that 39-second bracket. That's Taylor the Butcher Benjamin, Richard Springer. As we go back to the trackside action right now, Matt Sizzler in that 93 machine. There's another name you got to watch out for. He definitely had a promising run last week as well. He's currently sitting there at P3 in that 93 machine. He is rocking the top of that racetrack. And I agree. I think that's where you're going to see most of these competitors tonight, especially as they get laps on that race car. They're going to be ripping the wall, literally, under the lights in prime time, and I'm fired up.
Yeah, it's going to be an absolute blast. We watch Matt Sisler on his second lap here. Just under a minute left in qualifying. Sisler trying to improve. Matt Burgess goes to a 39.80 to take away third place. Matt Sisler does not improve on his second lap. We're going to see Austin Collins doing his normal thing. He sits at the back, tries to start at the back and work his way through the field. Meanwhile, we've got the 15 Napa Chevrolet of Ralph Fasano Sr. That's a newer name in this league. Haven't seen him around a whole heck of a lot, but he's going to try to put down a qualifying lap. Going to be a tough ask, though, with just 20 seconds left in qualifying. I don't think he's going to be able to make it to the line, let alone make another lap.
Yeah, even with that new horsepower, that's not going to be enough to get it done. But like you said, newcomer Ralph Fasano Sr., he's going to throw his hat here into the names with all these other guys that race so hard, so competitively in the Dynasty Racing League. Looking forward to watching that 15 compete out there tonight. And with that being said, just like that, the grid is set as we get ready to go ahead. That pace car is going to get these guys out of the racetrack. Those cars will start the grid. So that Ford Mustang sits now on pit road. These drivers start the grid in behind him. Go ahead and take you through the starting lineup here. Your pole sitter tonight in first place, that's going to be the 8 machine of Taylor Butcher Benjamin. In second, that's going to be the 21 of Richard Springer. In third, that's going to be the 12 of Matt Burgess. Fourth, the Sizzle Man himself, the 93, Matt Sizzler. 5, the 42 machine, David Wright. Watch him on the long runs tonight. 6th, Andrew McKenzie. The 29 of PJ O'Leary is going to be occupying the 7th spot. 8th belongs to James Pandolf in that 74 Chevrolet. 9th, James Goodman in the 22. And rounding out your top 10, that's the 24 of Larry McKenzie Jr.
After that, we've got Thomas Harmon, multiple-time race winner this year, starts 11th. Jacob Glodulich, the Drift King, sits in 12th place. So we've got Austin Collins, James Jacobs, Chris Vanderplatz, and Ralph Fasano Sr. rounds out the field here in Auto Club.
Well, you know what they say, the nighttime's the right time for these boys to turn it up. We're going to crank it up, and I'm sure we're definitely going to fire it up. What wins the race? Let's talk about some pre-race keys to success tonight. I think saving your tires obviously is going to be critical. Staying out of trouble probably is going to rank up there. What do you think? What's some of the other things we can look for tonight here? This is a wide racetrack. There's plenty of different lanes to choose from. What else you got for me, bud?
Well, it's definitely a wide racetrack, plenty of lanes to choose from. And I mentioned in the pre-race practice, we're going to see these guys rocking the top side. Tire management's going to be key, but the fuel limit, only 70%. These guys aren't going to have a full run on their tires, so they'll be able to go a little bit harder, a little bit more than, than you would if you had to go a full 40, 50 laps on your tank of gas. But tire saving is gonna be key, but how much do you have to do?
And that's gonna be the chess match, right? The balance. How hard do you push? But what's the boundary? When to save, when to push that car hard. And the other part, talking about fuel mileage, that extra horsepower, that's probably going to use more fuel, I would assume. So let's see if that comes into the equation as well.
Yeah, we've got 6 sets of tires in the pits. I would anticipate at least 3 pit stops. Maybe 4 for these guys, depending on how daring they're feeling. But I don't know how much the time lost or gained on fresh tires is going to play a difference in terms of a 3 versus 4 stop strategy. I think cautions are probably going to be the ones, or the thing to make a big change on that. But we get ready. We're doubled up. The lights are out on the pace car. Taylor Butcher Benjamin's going to lead him down over Richard Springer. Then we've got Matt Burgess, Matt Sisler, David Wright, Andrew McKenzie, PJ O'Leary, JP, Larry McKenzie Jr., and James Goodman rounding out the top 10. I tell you what, Matt, I always take the starts. I'm going to go ahead and give you this one.
I appreciate that, buddy. Here we go. That is looking for that Geico restart zone. He's going to go ahead and stand on the loud pedal as he screams up to 9,700 RPM. Climbing up through the gearbox. We're already fanning out 2 and 3 and 4 wide behind him. Bush's Trek is
contact, big contact up front. Sisler, Butcher Benjamin gets turned. Matt Burgess as well. And around goes to 71.
Oh, someone tried to thread the needle, that horsepower, that 3 wide, 4 wide, and they just wrecked at the very front of the field. I haven't seen anything like that in a long time. This is going to have huge implications as there's multiple cars involved. You see the 71 getting caught up in it. The 8, the 1, the 93 was definitely involved in it as he was going to make it 3 wide. The 12 came up. Taylor Butcher Benjamin, a lot of big names all caught up in this one.
Let's take another quick look here. Jump up to the blimp cam. The 93 Matt Sisler moves up to the middle, has a nice start there, and looks like the 12 there, Burgess, maybe didn't know he was there, slid up, hit him, turns him into Taylor Butcher Benjamin. Those guys get turned around sideways. The 29 machine, Thomas Harmon with some good wreck avoidance. The 22 just behind him, James Goodman, gets around there as well. But that'll be interesting. And oh, right there you see where the 14 DK clips the 71 of James Jacobs to get him turned around.
Yeah, just when he probably had to start to get a sense of security or a relief that he made it through there. He probably didn't anticipate 3 wide right off the bat like that. But then again, there's a lot more horsepower in play here. They're going to have these runs, especially on this big, wide racetrack, where they didn't have that opportunity before from that power deficit. So already, this new package could be starting to cause havoc right on literally the first lap of the race.
Yeah, it's definitely tough. You know, these runs are going to be a little bit different than we're used to with these cars now having over 800 horsepower compared to, I believe, they were around the 550, 600 range. So, I mean, it's 200 extra horsepower that iRacing has given us. And, yeah, but at the same time, Matt, I kind of want to argue that point you made and say that this is Fontana. This is a racetrack that we're known for going 3, 4, 5 wide on the restarts, and you know, it's definitely tough when you see guys come together like that, especially as quick as that happened. But I feel like that's one of those things you maybe have to be able to anticipate here on the restarts, is people putting their noses into places you might not expect.
Oh, I'm not disagreeing with you, but all I'm saying is think about it. You have all these different variables coming into this race tonight, so your mind's a lot of other places. And you're absolutely right. Fontana, it's famous for it. This track's bred for it. Probably was more worried about spinning the tires and just keeping the car straight, and didn't anticipate 3 wide right off the bat, and he just poked his nose out, and the 93 was there, and that lit the fuse and set off the big one here at the very front of the field, is where, under caution for the first time today, which is very uncharacteristic of this series, as we average just about 2.6 cautions a race.
Yeah, these guys have been super clean, and so we're kind of expecting more of that throughout the course of this thing. JP just sent me a message saying I don't have a UI showing up. I haven't pulled up the timing and scoring yet. A lot of things have happened, but we apologize for that. We're on lap 4 of 125. And I was incorrect in my initial assumption. This is a 250-mile race instead of 200. So we'll go ahead and get that updated for you as well. These guys, 6 sets of tires. The lights are out on the pace car. And with only 6 sets for 250 miles, these guys might have to think twice about when they're going to use them.
Well said. And while the pace car goes lights out, these guys are going to go lights out, full send here on the racetrack here tonight. See if we can get a good restart. Has huge implications on the very first lap. Heck, into the first corner have already fell here in Hollywood, right here in Los Angeles County, California, under the lights. One of my favorite racetracks of all time. Sad to see it go. So many great memories here. But hey, at least we get to reminisce here in the good old days of this Gen 4 car. One of the greatest iRacing glitches of all time, if you ask me.
Well, I don't know about calling it a glitch. They mistakenly put out this update. I would imagine that they had plans to do this later on, but they mistakenly put out this update, and now we've got some of the best racing you can find. We've got ourselves a second attempt here at the start. This time, Richard Springer's going to lead him down. He chose the outside. Green flag back in the air. Springer with a phenomenal restart, and there's the 24 Larry McKenzie Jr. sitting up on the top side, trying to push him. Now that inside lane, Andrew McKenzie's got himself a nice run on the inside. Going to go ahead and clear for the race lead. And now these guys getting spread out just a little bit more. 3, 4 wide through turns 1 and 2. Down the back straightaway. Clear lead for Andrew McKenzie. But Larry McKenzie is working the outside of David Wright. David Wright in that 42 machine. Austin Collins down to the inside of David Wright now. Collins, we know he's been fast.
Yeah, he's been so fast. He's up 8 positions already in this one. Now, granted, a lot of that probably that wreck on lap 1, but still, he is making moves, and he is rocking the bottom side of that racetrack. You got to be careful down there how much you use those tires up, because I imagine that is just sawing sheets of, or just grating sheets of rubber off that race car, ripping the bottom with that type of horsepower. But he is making it work as he's out. He's battling the 42 machine door to door. He's rocking the bottom 42. Is going to be on the top side. That's David right there for position. We continue to go on back through the field. We see him fanning out 2 and 3 wide. That hornet's nest really building around 8th position on back. Taking a look here at the 22 of James Goodman. He's down a couple spots from where he started, out just outside the top 10 in that 11th position. Car looks really nice and stable, though, as he's rotating the top, picking up the throttle nicely. That back end isn't twitching around, at least not yet. He's got that car firmly planted underneath of him, and that's what you want here at Auto Club.
Absolutely, but speaking of a driver who has lost considerably more positions, Taylor Butcher Benjamin, obviously we saw him involved in that crash at the start, trying to do a recovery job. Down 8 spots from where he started, set on the pole. Now he looks down to the inside of that 24 machine, who we saw restart in 2nd place. That's one of my favorite things about Auto Club, is that you can see this field full of comers and goers, and there's enough space on this racetrack to really make it happen if you're going to be quick. But that 8 and 29 got super close there in 1 and 2. Might have been a little bit of contact there, but that's going to cause Taylor Butcher Benjamin to lose a bit of momentum, lose a spot or 2. Now he sits on the inside once again, looking down, touches the apron. Gonna get up in front of McKenzie.
Oh, look out.
Oh, man, that was wild. McKenzie had to check up with the 8 coming up in front of him. Got him a little bit sideways. That puts James Jacobs down to his inside. They're 3 wide just behind him with Matt Sisler trying to find his nose.
Yeah, as Matt Sisler is trying to find his nose, that 24 machine is diving back at it on the inside, back on the charge after he just had a massive uh-oh moment. There he is, that 24 Larry McKenzie Jr. He is attacking on the bottom as well. So some of these guys finding some success down there early on. Those cooler track temperatures, fresh tires, probably great attributing factors there as well. As you see that 93 machine charging back up through the field as he was involved in the big one on lap 1 of the race. Car's in pretty good shape though. Aerodynamically, he is definitely has competitive speed in that race car. I think catastrophe avoided for Matt Sisler. Don't count him out. He's got a long time. You know he'll be up there near the front when it counts. But look at this line as they go on board with him here, just rocking that white line all the way around the racetrack.
Sisler might have had to use his fast repair there under the first caution flag. Obviously, it's a big stinker to have to use it a lap or 2 up into the race, but jump back up to the front. Andrew McKenzie rocking that bottom side, trying to take away the lead, but now all of a sudden David Wright, who we knew was going to be fast, looks like he's got himself a little bit of wall contact with that machine. Jumps up into second place. David McKenzie now chasing down Richard Springer up front. We're 10 laps into this 125 lap race.
Yeah, he's looking like Mr. Excitement, Jimmy Spencer, in that race car, as he's got a couple love tap marks on it from high five in the wall. You know, going in there at 201 miles an hour, 202. It's going to happen every once in a while. But as we go on board, looking out the back, look at these formation of attacking race cars. This is just one of the greatest sights in all of oval track automotive racing, just watching how these cars fan out so many different lines around this racetrack here. You see him coming, Richard Springer here going back on board up near the front. Getting a good look at that outside retaining wall there at Auto Club Speedway, just seeing how close they get to it at times. Go on board here with James Pandolf, Austin Collins.
Yeah, we're jumping around a bit on you, Matt. I'm sorry there, but
it's okay.
Jump around, see how these guys are completely running different lines. You see Harmon and Collins, the 2 winningest drivers on the season. Look at the big loose on the 42 of David Wright there. That's going to cost him a bit of time, as now the 06 of Andrew McKenzie looks to his outside, gets the nose up front, able to get clear getting down into turn number 1. Now we've got a new second place runner once again. And I tell you what, if you're Richard Springer in that 21 machine, you are absolutely loving all this action. Look at JP in the middle for third place.
Yeah, JP was giving me the business last night. Him and I were actually duking it out in that practice race. And he was working me over hard, but I was giving it right back to him. And he's a strong competitor, and he was really good on the long runs last night, especially they got, oh, that's not good.
Oh, and around goes David Wright hard into the wall. That's going to stay green, though. Wright didn't go around all the way.
Oh, goodness.
No, the caution has come out, yes.
I mean, that was a 1, 2, 3, like, just ricochet, as you saw that energy transfer from race car to race car there. And that's right there, just a misjudgment on the closing speed and thinking there's going to be space when you get there, and there wasn't. And just like that, these higher speeds, just no time to react. And once again, a very uncharacteristic second caution of the day is now over this racetrack here in Southern California, as the 42 David Wright has some heavy damage on the front of that Chevrolet Impala. He's another driver that may have to use that quick repair, as you indicated earlier, like the 93 of Matt Sisler more than likely did.
Oh, that's not what I wanted to do there. Apologies for that little faux pas, but we're going to go ahead and try to show you what happened here to bring out the caution. David Wright up top of JP. These guys coming up out of turn number 2 right now, racing 3 wide down the back straightaway.
Yeah, he just got a massive run. Yeah, the 42 got a big run on the top, and you can see that as working the draft here, getting some air help from the 74 there, and
Oh,
he's going
he's
to try to
already
turn down underneath
sideways.
him, already slideways, exactly, and he just put himself in a bad position. You mentioned slideways, and that's one of the characteristics you can do with this car. You can modulate that throttle and kind of skew it out a little bit, but the problem is you have to be able to catch it and get that car planted back straight. And with that apex of the corner, it just wrong place, right time, and 3 casualties as a result. So you really got to have that situational awareness when to do that and when not to do that.
Yeah, it's a tough deal there, and I would almost argue that he got put in the wrong position there, being middle 3. It was a tough spot with this extra horsepower, the extra air all over this car. Might be a bit easier to lose, but we saw a little bit of net code also play into factor with that, about a foot of distance between those two race cars. But we got pit stops happening right now, coming up off of pit lane. It looks like Andrew McKenzie stays out. JP gonna be first off of pit lane.
Great pit stop.
Might have taken 2 there. No, JP stayed out. So Austin Collins, first one to come in for tires.
James Pandolf going big. He's gambling early on. Hey, if that's when you want to take a chance, do it early in the race. Get a lot of time to recover in case it doesn't go your way. James Pandolf says, no tires, no problem. I'm going to take this 74, and I'm going to stick it right here, right behind that 06 of Andrew McKenzie. But, Liam, like you always say, 4 tires at this racetrack, that's going to be a big difference makers, especially when you're trying to pass cars and make those moves. We're going to have to see how this pans out for James Pandolf as he's now decides to come down pit road, stayed out to lead a lap.
Yeah, well, McKenzie ended up leading that lap. JP follows him in. These guys going to end up starting at the back, but Drift King, Jacob Gladulich, stays out. And as we take the choose, lights are off on the pace car. We're going to see what that 14 machine can cook. Burger King, a similar scheme there. We'll see if it's a little bit of a flame-broiled restart, or Austin Collins can take that Menards money to the outside. Richard Springer, longtime leader of this race. Well, it's only 15 laps in. Springer has been the dominant car so far. Sits in 3rd place. Taylor Butcher Benjamin, the winner last week at Martinsville, sits in 4th. And then Thomas Harmon, I'm not sure if he took his fast repair or maybe didn't have much damage there. We saw him get a little bit of contact with that caution. Sits in 5th place.
Yeah, it certainly could have been a lot worse for the 68-year points leader, Thomas Harmon, on that initial incident on the green flag. But here's the difference now. That 21 machine, Richard Springer, he is bad fast out in front. Now he's going to be back in that dirty air just a little bit. Does this have an effect on the balance of that race car? We're about to find out. As now you get the 14 DK Drift King to the front. Mr. Flame Broiled, as you said. You got the one on the outside, Austin Collins, the money man himself. This is going to be one heck of a drag race as that iRacing.com Ford Mustang pulls off pit road. The 14's looking for that Geico restart zone. He's going to go ahead and gas her way up to the heavens. Those Goodyears are going to bite down into that racetrack, and they are going to launch these cars all the way right through the try over here as they're racing down into turn 1.
Collins quicker on the shift. Goes way up to the top side. That's going to give him the race. Sorry, that's going to give him the race lead. Like you mentioned there, that horsepower really coming into effect coming up off of turns 1 and 2. Austin Collins goes into the race lead. Jacob Gladulich sits in 2nd, but TBB looking hard to try to take that 2nd place away. A massive run coming up off of turn 4. He's got himself a nice toe, but that 14 machine has a toe from the Austin Collins car in front of him.
Yeah, cars getting toes from one another, helping hands, if you will. But Taylor Butcher Benjamin, what a breakthrough week for him last week in a great interview. so much emotion probably still inside the cockpit of that race car, and that has to be fueling his drive here tonight. Is look at him going for another one as he turns it down to the inside. He's going to take it to the bottom of the racetrack as he's going up against that 14 of Drift King. He's got the position. He's going to slide up the racetrack. Classic crossover maneuver there is he's going to bring it all the way to the top side, get every bit of that 800 horsepower at the line. What a drag race there. The 8, I think, just by inches, is the 14, though, is going to charge back, work at the bottom still, is a still battle side by side for positions, for the second place position. Austin Collins, that one machine, your leader, is he's starting to do a little slide out there on the racetrack as they are racing hard behind him.
Riding in the onboard, sitting on the cockpit cam with Taylor Butcher Benjamin rocking a completely different line from the one car of Austin Collins, and you see just how much quicker he is through the middle of the corner. He's going to have himself a nice run on Collins, pulls down in to try to take a little bit of the draft, and now moves up to the top side, getting down into turn 1. Nice run getting down into 1. Here comes Taylor Butcher Benjamin rocking next to the fence, 3 feet, 4 feet away. Now he gets down below that top seam. He's got position on Austin Collins, and he's got the racetrack to use. Put Taylor Butcher Benjamin into the race lead. 20 laps complete here at Fontana.
Oh, did you see Taylor the Butcher Benjamin just dominating that right rear tire, just walking it out through the corner? That's what I love about the Gen 4 race car in this package. That horsepower, man. You can just use that throttle and just take it to the house like that if you know how to drive the car. As you saw, that car was just a little bit out of shape, but bad fast on the top as Taylor the Butcher Benjamin gets it done in style here in California on the top side of the racetrack. That was a power move that I haven't seen in a long time. 21, he is making up some ground back on the outside as well. If you remember, Richard Springer, he led early on, got mired back on those pit stops though, but he is climbing his way back forward. Currently see the 29 machine there of P.J. O'Leary up 3 spots from where he started, just inside the top 5, occupying that 4th position. We go here to the blimp camera looking down at the racing surface. You see you got the 29 there on the inside, just ahead of the 14.
14 looking up top to try to defend that position. Not doing much in terms of side draft, as we see it looks like a McKenzie getting up off of the pit lane there. A tough break for him. Richard Springer, however, making a move up on the top side, trying to take second place away from Austin Collins, and he's got a strong run up there. Should be able to take that position. Yes, he is clear by a couple of car lengths, getting down into turn number 3. Richard Springer, like we said, he led some of the early laps of this race, trying to get back up into position. But right now, he's got Taylor Butcher Benjamin just about a second in front of him. We'll definitely keep you posted on how that battle shapes out as they race for the lead. But Matt Sisler, 71 of James Jacobs, and the 22 of James Goodman. These guys running 3 wide, getting down into turn number 1. Harmon sideways just in front of these guys. Harmon falling back from the restart, and look at Sisler gets turned around.
Oh, carnage again on the racetrack. It's momentum again, just closing speed. All these different determining factors these drivers haven't had to face at this rate in a long time, or we don't know how long, has once again caused another crash out here on the racetrack. As I believe one car was up in the air on 2 tires at one point there.
Yes, sir. That was James
Sisler
Goodman. Ran over the front of Matt Sisler after turning him around, but no major contact outside of that. Everybody seems to be able to get away okay.
I mean, the front of that car is just pointed like a javelin, and you get into that back of that other car, it's going to just loft it right up in the air. As we slow it down here and take a look here, you see that 93 Matt Sisler, he is putting on the power slider, and right up in front of the 22, the nose acts like a jack, picks the back of the 93 up, hooks him. The 93 sends the 22 up on 2 wheels, and just like that, caution again out on the racetrack. And a big part, I think, one of the new characteristics of this car in this package, just the closing rates are so much faster. You don't have the same amount of time to react, and I just think it's throwing the situational awareness off just a little bit, and it's being magnified at a track like Fontana, or I'm sorry, Auto Club Speedway.
It's not the same Fontana Auto Club, but we've got everybody coming in for a pit stop. JP, this time he stays out. He's going to go ahead and lead this lap. Come in probably next time, but from 2nd to 13th, everybody's coming. David Wright should take the free pass this time, but we'll go ahead and show you this pit lane exit cam. Let you know who comes off first. Taylor Butcher Benjamin. He's worked his way up through the field quite a bit. Got that first pit stall. We'll see if that helps him as he gets away right away. Potentially 2 tires or maybe even fuel only this time around.
Yeah, that was a lightning fast stop, as you mentioned. I don't think they were able to get 4 tires on that quick. But as you mentioned, as you asked the question, that number 1 pit stall will definitely play an advantage here, especially at this racetrack. That's one of the advantages of getting the pole position. You get to pick your pit stall as well, and that P1 pit stall can pay dividends, especially later on that ever so important money stop. As they come back out onto the racetrack, you're looking at second on back. You have James Pandolf stayed out in that 74 machine. So Taylor the Butcher Benjamin will line up second. Richard Springer in third. PJ O'Leary in fourth. And James Jacobs up 9 spots from where he started in fifth in that 71 machine.
See if JP decides to come into the pits this time around. Or if he's going to go ahead and save that set of tires. He's staying up top. So it looks like JP going to stay out here. Andrew McKenzie was really hoping he wouldn't. Just to try to get that lap back with the wave around. But see the lights go out on the pace car likely this time. Yes, there they go. 74, we'll see what lane he chooses. Looks like he's going to take the bottom side.
Yeah, you choose this time by 74. Going to rock the bottom. James Pandolf up 7 spots. Chose to stay out. The last time I thought he was going to stay out, and I think he just decided at the last minute there to come on down pit road. He's going to be the Lone Ranger out there on old tires, as he's going to have at least 2 on back. I'm not sure if the 8 took 2, but anyways, outside of that front row, they're going to have tires all the way on back, and that's a lot of ask out of that 74 machine of James Pandolf. We're going to find a lot just about how important those 4 Dr. Feelgoods are on that race car. Is California, this track is rather abrasive and will certainly shred those tires in no time. 74 taking the inside. If it was me, I would have took the outside. That's just my preference here.
So I'm not 100% sure if these guys get the option to choose, but it's easy to say with NASCAR doing it. But JP on the older tires, Taylor Butcher Benjamin potentially on 2 tires here. Be interesting to see what these guys have in store, but like you said, this track being as abrasive as it is, that 74 has 10 laps, 10 green flag laps on his tires. So we'll see what happens moving forward. A lot of cars on the inside lane this time around. Getting up into the Geico restart zone. JP hard up on the throttle. Gets the job done by 3-4 car lengths. Getting down the front straightaway. Looking towards turn 1 and big time fanning out right behind these guys.
JP, no tires, no problem. Makes us look like we don't know what we're doing up here in the broadcast booth. As Pandolf just paddles away from these guys on old tires, caught up on the snooze button. That was awesome. As we see them already 2 wide here battling. He's trying to go 3 wide there again to 24. Larry McKenzie, that kind of widened out there as he was making the move towards the bottom of the racetrack. You also see the one of Austin Collins there coming back up through the field. Past series champion. He is right on that white line, taking the shortest distance.
Jacobs looking to the middle to try to make this a 3-wide battle. Doesn't quite have enough there. He's going to back off just a touch. Try to fight it another corner here, but here comes Austin Collins down to the inside of that 71 Haviland machine. That 29 Shell Pennzoil of PJ O'Leary got a little bit sideways coming up off the corner. That's going to give Larry McKenzie Jr. a chance to get down to his inside. But the momentum does not stay in the favor of that 24 as here comes James Jacobs up to the top side. Austin Collins all up on that gas using all the racetrack. Also gets to the outside of McKenzie. Austin Collins, I tell you what, that's a man on a mission right now. He sits in 6th place, working the top side of McKenzie.
Look at the run, the energy that one of Austin Collins is just able to carry. I mean, he looks like he's got, 100 more horsepower than everyone out there on the racetrack. We know that's not the case, but that's just knowing and understanding how to use your car, the racetrack and the car's power to your advantage. That draft, he's just putting his car in places where he's able to roll that momentum, carry all that speed up to the wall. There's a drafting partner there when he needs it. That's going to help give him that extra power, that extra speed down the straight.
Look at how close he got to the back bumper of James Jacobs. He had a run there on him, decided against it. Now looks up to the top side. That's Austin Collins sitting in 5th place right now. And now he's going to try to cut down below that 71. The 29 down to the inside, 71 up into the wall. That's James Jacobs. He's going to recover okay. But Matt Sisler, Thomas Harmon, and potentially that 12 of Matt Burgess, the 2 Miller Lite machine, showing up as the 12 on timing and scoring, but that's obviously a Rusty Wallace Miller Lite machine number 2. So apologies for the confusion there. Up into the wall behind these guys goes the McKenzie machine once again, as he has fallen back quite a bit. Now sits in 12th place. Matt Sisler defending from Thomas Harmon. Austin Collins able to get away from these guys, but Thomas Harmon trying to work the outside, and we got problems in the back. David Wright got super sideways, and as we were watching all of that action, Richard Springer was able to take the lead away from James Pandolf. Pandolf still sits in 2nd with the older tires. Taylor Butcher Benjamin just behind him, but Richard Springer, your race leader, completing 32 laps out of 125. A lot of phenomenal action here happening in the first quarter of this race.
Yeah, Richard is rocking with that rocket power underneath that race car. This 21 is putting on the race of his season. I can't remember when he has been this dominant for this many laps, especially at the start of the race. This is awesome watching this 21 come to life here tonight. And we said top of the broadcast, this power and this change of this race car could, kind of bring someone to the front that we didn't expect. So far, I'm going to say that definitely goes to the 21, and he continues to put up a pace. As we're looking out the front of that race car, I believe the 74, you can see Richard Springer pulling away in that one machine.
Yeah, we rode on board with Taylor Butcher Benjamin as he slides up in front of that 74. Up off to 74 JP. Sorry for the coughing fit there. 74 JP gets up into the wall. Now Austin Collins looks down to the inside to try to take 2nd place away. Collins has been absolutely phenomenal since the drop of the green flag this last restart. Takes away 2nd place, and he is absolutely quicker than the race leader. Last time by it was 300ths. This time by almost 2/10. Austin Collins was quicker than Richard Springer there. So is that a situation of maybe saving tire? Or is Austin Collins just quicker than the rest of the field right now?
I think that man is just ripping it, and he knows how to work this race car. And he knows, hey, you can abuse that right rear tire on this race car. It's not actually going to hurt you like it will the next gen car and some of the other cars if you know how to drive it. And this man is after it up on the wheel. You can see how that car steps out a little bit. It's just the back of that race car just walks and zags a little bit. That's how you know when that car is right on the edge, and he is getting every ounce of the performance out of that race car. As he is already up to the back of Richard Springer as he takes it to the bottom.
Yeah, they're side by side now. Look at Austin Collins with a huge push coming up off of turns 1 and 2. Side by side down the back straightaway. Richard Springer, can he defend this? He's got the nose getting down into turns 3 and 4. But Austin Collins has been absolutely lights out since the drop of the green flag on this last restart. He's going to go ahead and take the race lead. Slides up in front of Springer, but he's got a car length or two as Springer gets the run up off of turn 4. Not going to be enough to try to fight him getting down into turn number 1. Put Austin Collins as your new race leader with 36 laps complete.
Yeah, he's got some mojo brewing in that race car in that one machine because, I mean, what he just did there is impressive. I mean, he already abused the heck out of those Goodyear Eagles coming up through there. The way he was able to sail it off on the bottom of that racetrack. Now, keep in mind, Richard Springer, he's ripping the top. I mean, he can carry a lot more momentum up there. And still the one of Austin Collins was able to carry enough speed while he slid it up the racetrack to point in front of the one and maintain the position. That's a bold statement there by that Austin Collins, that one machine. That puts everybody on alert because that's one heck of a statement as he continues out to pull away. Look at how he just walks that car, slides it up the racetrack. That's a man on a mission right there in that one machine. If I was in the field, I'd be a little nervous myself right now because that man is poised right now to go out there. He is going places. He certainly got me fired up watching him get done out there on the racetrack. But how about Mike Harmon? Another name we haven't talked about a lot. He's up 8 spots. He's won the most races this season. He is your points leader in that 68 machine. Don't count him out yet because you know he's going to have something to say in this race before it's over.
Yeah, I think Matt was the first to do it, calling Thomas Harmon Mike Harmon. It's obviously not the man that survived that Bristol crash 21 years ago. Up into the wall, we got Larry McKenzie coming up off of 2. Seems to be okay. But as we've got a moment, these guys running multiple different lines, we're going to go ahead and take a quick turn it up. Let you guys hear the sights and sounds of these race cars as they are roaring with over 800 horsepower and a 9,700 RPM limiter. We'll be right back. Back live here at Auto Club Speedway. Austin Collins has built himself a little bit of a gap, but Thomas Harmon has worked his way into second place. These are the 2 winningest drivers of the season right now. They sit 1-2. Richard Springer has relinquished that second place away to the 68 machine. Tough deal for him, but he's still got a long way to go. Just over 80 laps to go in this event. Lap 44 out of 125. Thomas Harmon sits in second, chasing down the 1 car. But Matt, I tell you what, if you're that 1 car, or I should say I ask you what, but if you're that 1 car, what can you do better to keep that machine in the 68 behind you?
Well, I think right now in this case it's going to be a little bit different because there's no way Austin Collins did absolutely just decimate those I'm sorry, those General tires on that race car with that drive up to the front. So the 68 is going to be in Prime's position here to have a better long run car. Plus Thomas Harmon, he's one of the greats at long run speed. Outside of that, the one machine right here, he needs to talk to his spotter, his crew chief. He needs to find out where the 68 is making time up on him. Is it coming out of turn 4? Is it rotating turns 1 and 2? Is it the top side? Is it the bottom? Give me that information as a driver. Tell me what he's doing. I'm going to try to do the same thing and search around here. It's California. As a driver, you have options on this racetrack. If your car's not working on the bottom, move it up to the top. You can find a spot where your car is going to rotate better. Also, take his line away from him. You know he's going to be able trying to carry in that speed through the corner. All that gravity, that inertia, that's going to pull that car right up towards the wall. So put your spot in a position where you can kind of take his line away.
1 and 2. Didn't mean to cut you off there, but to speak to what you were saying, figure out where he's faster. I think the entrance into 1 and 2 has generally been where Thomas is faster, but that last time around, Thomas got in way too deep, lost a ton of time, almost doubled the lead that Austin Collins has. They're virtually equal in 3 and 4. Might be a little bit different without that 68 there to pressure the number 1 machine, but they're virtually equal in 3 and 4. Turns 1 and 2 is where Thomas Harmon really makes up that difference. But with that last lap mistake, we'll see what he can get done here. As once again, he slides way wide coming up off of turn 2. That's going to cost him a bit more time. The gap is 0.8 of a second now and increasing. As we've got James Jacobs and Taylor Butcher Benjamin racing side by side down the back straightaway. Butcher Benjamin goes in deep, trying to take away the position from that 71. But here comes Jacobs. Pulls down the racetrack, gets a little bit of side draft, maybe takes some of that racetrack away from Taylor Butcher Benjamin and holds on to that 6th position. That's going to give PJ O'Leary a chance to potentially work the 8 car down into turn number 1. No, he stays in behind him.
Yeah, this is where the action's really hot right now on the racetrack. It's an all-out assault. You have cars just off your inside, off the nose, off the back. You have to make sure you're anticipating your speed and your runs as well as these other drivers around you, because these closing rates, they are fast, as well as the trajectory of the cars are changing. As they're changing lines, they're sliding up the racetrack. These tires are starting to wear out a little bit. So as a driver, you have a lot going on inside that race car, and you got to be paying attention to what's going on around you. As we currently watch there, that 8 car right there of Taylor Butcher Benjamin, he's fallen back just a little bit outside the top 5, currently residing in that 7th position. But this is where the action is really hot on the racetrack. You got a couple different lines here. You got Taylor Butcher Benjamin, who's really trying to work the top of that racetrack, carry the momentum through the corner. That's going to give him some great speed, or should give him some great speed down the stretches here. These long straightaways, you really maximize that. But the cars that are able to rotate the bottom or that middle lane and rotate and not sacrifice that much speed.
Oh, wow. Here comes Taylor Butcher Benjamin coming into the pits.
Yeah, I wasn't
couple
sure
of guys coming with
there.
him. Richard Springer, PJ Leary, David Wright, James Goodman. A lot of guys coming into the pits. This is some strategy call.
Yeah, big strategy call there as we were trying to strategize how they were getting around the racetrack up here in the SRM booth. Just like that, lap 50. That's going to put that 8 machine and company on pit road. So pit road comes back to life here in a big time under the lights in prime time.
This might be the fuel number for these guys as Thomas Harmon has closed down the gap on Austin Collins. Collins looks to be coming in. Thomas Harmon, is he going to follow? Harmon does follow. Wider on entry. Harmon, Collins, both look to be able to get into the zone. Matt Sisler as well. DK, Jacob Gladulich, James Jacobs. Richard Springer, however, just getting off the pit lane. He's going to get out in front of that 8 Taylor Butcher Benjamin. We'll see if the short pit helps him. This undercut, we'll keep an eye on Austin Collins and Thomas Harmon, who are just now getting into their pits. Richard Springer, however... Sorry?
I was just going to say, did you see how the 68 of Thomas Harmon and Austin Collins just attacked that pit road entrance? The skill that takes to come in that fast and roll that race car up like that, that is easier said than done. And I think that's one of the areas that we don't talk about some of these guys enough. Just how much time and how good they make up getting onto pit road. That was impressive. As the 21 here back up to speed here, flying over 201, 202 miles an hour going down to turn 1. As we see the 68 of Harmon, followed by the 1 of Austin Collins. Service complete on those race cars to get back up to speed, back out onto the racetrack. Matt Sizzler is going to follow it. Other cars coming off of pit road, they're going to blend back into traffic as these guys are whipping by him at lap speed on the top side.
Thomas Harmon able to come out in the race lead, but Austin Collins fights hard trying to get back to the back bumper. That 68 Collins with a huge run coming up off of turn number 4. He's going to get down to the inside. Harmon's going to lead this lap by just a skosh, but Austin Collins with a huge run down on the inside. We'll see what happens down into turns 1 and 2 as Thomas Harmon takes a wider entry. He's going to relinquish that position by a couple of car lengths here to Austin Collins.
Yeah, Austin Collins.
Sorry.
No, go for it, man. Take it.
I was going to say, these guys are virtually on the strategy of stopping every 25 laps now. We pit around lap 50. Next one will be about 75. Then the money stop. These guys are hoping to be around lap 100. Austin Collins, race leader. You see Richard Springer making a phenomenal move there for second over Thomas Harmon. Harmon seems to be just letting those tires stay cool for the first part of this run. Richard Springer has no intentions of that. He is going all out within 0.6 of the race leader, and with a strong run up on the top side, he's going to gain about a 10th or 2 coming down the back straightaway on Austin Collins.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Richard Springer has sprung to life here in California, having the race of his season so far as that 21 continues to be FAST fast, especially ripping the top side of that racetrack. He's back in second spot in that 21 machine. Is Austin Collins. I believe he is the only car left on the racetrack that has not come down pit road yet. He's about to fall into the clutches here of that 21 machine.
No, Austin Collins came in for a pit stop with Thomas Harmon. Those guys came in on the same lap. Harmon has fallen back quite a bit, back to 5th place right now. 2.5 seconds off of Richard Springer, but Springer is going all out on the beginning stages of these tires, trying to take that race lead away from Austin Collins, and it looks like that top side has been strong for him. But how much tire is he using in the early portion of this race?
Well, that's the million-dollar question. How much tire are you using too much too soon? With the speeds they're running right now, I mean, they're just about at the qualified speeds. I mean, Richard Springer, that last time by, ran a 40.12, and his best lap was a 39.88. So you're talking fractions of a second there. So based off of that, I'd say maybe they're using a little too much right now, but maybe that's just where you have to be to run the pace of this race. These guys are so fast. If you back it down just a little bit, it's going to be too much for those tires to overcome to basically make up that deficit. Should you have another caution on the racetrack, the only major way you're going to overcome that, and which we know these guys just technically don't have a lot of. We had a couple freak ones here early. Now we've seen the cycle back to traditional Dynasty Racing League trends of the race here, if you will. So I think you just got to manage it. You got to just push it, but don't push the envelope. Back off in the corner a little bit. Let it roll the center. Pick up the throttle smoothly. Don't just jump back on the gas and twitch the, those truck arms on the race car in the rear end. Try not to flex them under throttle. Just be smooth, smooth, spongy on the pedal, and that should really help strengthen or give you more tire life, especially on that right rear. Just having smooth throttle and brake inputs, that's a big part of it.
I think Richard Springer is kind of hurting himself with his outside lane that he's running. He's getting the runs up off the corner, but I think he's losing just a bit too much on entry. So you see that number 1 of Austin Collins continues to extend his lead 2/3 of a second right now. Closest battle on the track is David Harmon trying to chase down PJ O'Leary right in front of him. These guys rocking completely different lines. Like you mentioned, we're approaching the halfway point. These guys starting to stretch green, getting into the traditional Dynasty Racing League action that we're used to seeing. These guys generally a very clean league. Don't see a whole heck of a lot of cautions outside of the flurry we saw at the start. This is generally what we see out of these guys. A lot of good, hard, but clean racing.
Yeah, and all you guys that come here week in and week out to watch these guys, you know that. Make sure if you're new to SRM, you smash the like button, ring the bell, come home to us, become part of the family. We got high-octane eSIM racing action 7 days a week. So keep tuned into us right there on that YouTube dial. We appreciate you guys coming out, being a part of the show with us here tonight.
There's Ralph Asano Sr. coming around. James Pendolph up on the top side coming out of turn number 4. It's a battle for a top 10 position. 15 looking strong up on the top side.
Has some close proximity racing there. JP in that 74, he's going to turn it down low, rip the bottom of the racetrack, and the 15 of Ralph, newcomer here to the series in that 15 machine, I believe, making his debut appearance.
Oh, and around goes Matt Sisler.
Oh, and Sizzle Time lit the fuse again as he finds himself crawling through the infield here at Auto Club Speedway as the 93 is off the track. Not sure what happened here. I'm sure we can get a replay, another look at it.
Coming up off of turn 4. Looks like he just got loose on his own. Spins down to the infield, hits that inside wall a ton. No caution, though.
Yeah, you know you hit a ton when the front of that race car does a nose stand on impact. That's going to be heavy damage there to the front of the 93, and you're right. He just lost it coming off the corner there. A little too much, a little too heavy there on the loud pedal, that gas pedal. Very characteristic of just being a little heavy on the gas there coming off the corner. It'll make you pay just like that, quick, fast, and in a hurry.
Thomas Harmon rocking 8th place right now. He's fallen back quite a bit from your race leader, Austin Collins. Now 12.5 seconds in front of Thomas Harmon. Remember, Harmon came off of the pit lane in front of that number 1 machine. So unsure of maybe, unsure what's going on with that 68, but he's clearly not happy with the race car right now.
Yeah, the 68, it just feels like he's not having the way, it's not going the way he would want that car to react. It's not behaving, responding as he would like inside that race car. He's still got time to figure it out, though. He's one of the best in this series. He's a very dominant force to be reckoned with. But again, is this maybe a byproduct of just having this new package in this car? You know, some of these guys, they are so good in the I'll call it the legacy package now, just for to keep it simple. In the old package, you know, you go ahead and you change it up just a little bit. I mean, these guys were so pristine at what they did. Maybe they're going to have to relearn it just a little bit. Just speculating here, but this is probably the most frustrated I've seen him from the booth in a long time, as he currently finds himself here just inside the top 10 in that 68 machine, searching for a line for some speed stability in that race car. That's the 68 of Thomas Harmon as he runs right now.
Well, we have a moment here. We'll go ahead and step side by side. You guys won't miss a thing, but we're just past the halfway point here in the Dynasty Racing League Pro Series. We'll be right back. Back live here in Fontana, Austin Collins leads by 1.3 seconds over Richard Springer. Taylor Butcher Benjamin has worked his way up into third, 4 seconds back. David Wright in fourth place. PJ O'Leary giving him a hard-fought battle, though. Wright's got some damage to that right rear of his machine. Not sure if that came around on this run or if he's just been waiting on a fast repair, but he's sitting strong in fourth place right now.
Yeah, I think he's actually has a little bit more downforce on the back of that 42 car from that damage, as he's got a little more angle in that spoiler on that race car. I know in real life that would definitely add more downforce. Not sure if the algorithm for iRacing is taking that into equation right now, but if it is, that's definitely a bonus on the long run, as he'll have some more rear downforce in that race car, helping that right rear stay planted in the racetrack. Continues to work the top side, though. David Wright in that 42 machine. He's up one spot, holding on to the inside top 5, currently running P4 right now.
Yeah, Wright sitting in fourth place, but this continues to be the closest battle on the racetrack right now. You saw these guys get around Matt Burgess on the inside in that 2 machine. Now here comes PJ, Matt Burgess up in the wall. Here comes PJ with a strong run, gets within a car length or so coming up off of turn 4, but that run up on the top side for David Wright gaps him just a bit more. The race for the lead has dropped down within 1 second. We'll jump back up to that when that gets a little bit closer, but we've got side by side coming up off of turn number 2. 69 laps complete, a very nice amount to have done here. We've got 55 laps to go for your race leader as he comes across the line, Austin Collins. And now PJ super sideways there coming up off of 4.
Yeah.
Had to relinquish that spot there. Just not quite enough grip there to get around David Wright. But looking back up front, Richard Springer getting a little bit closer and closer every lap to the top dog, Austin Collins.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, ripping the top like that, if you do it right, you can save that right rear tire. And I was thinking that last night when I ran with these guys, as I was able to get up there late and finish inside the top 5 with JP battling with him. But that 21 machine now wasn't probably going as hard as that 1 machine early on, and now you're seeing the tires starting to come into a factor here. The 21 just carrying all that momentum, rolling it around the top side of the racetrack. You're going to have the most banking up there.
He's carrying it, like making it look like it's easy there. Here comes the 21, Richard Springer. You saw how fast he was able to run the top side down the front straightaway. Almost had the 1 car cleared, but now a huge gap, half a second between Richard Springer and Austin Collins. As these guys approach their second set of green flag pit stops, you've got to wonder if... No, here comes the 21. 21's coming in. Lap 72, coming in early.
And see, that's the point I was going to make, though. Look how long it took for the 21 to come back on the 1. He was substantially faster right there, but just as he took the lead, you mentioned end of the run, and sure enough, here comes the 1, and David Wright back down pit road again. So he's going to have to change something up there. He cannot let him get that far out in front of him and just bank on the fact that there's going to be a caution to equalize that deficit. Certainly, if that happens, he's in a much better situation, but he's going to have to pedal harder in the early going when that one machine is substantially faster to stay with him. That way, he doesn't have to make up as much ground coming down to the checkered flag there.
Well, maybe that's why he's banking on this undercut. If he can get in front of that one machine and stay up there, he might have himself a better chance at this. Obviously, this is the penultimate pit stop. You're expecting one more pit stop here, but right now these guys working laps 74. Austin Collins stays out on the racetrack. Thomas Harmon as well. David Wright, James Jacobs, Jacob Glodulich, and Ralph Fasano Sr. have all decided to come in this time. So it's going to be interesting to see how the undercut works. Austin Collins stays out on the racetrack one more lap. He's going to complete lap 74, start lap 75.
I mean, initially at the surface, you would think each and every lap that Austin Collins stays out there on those old tires, he's really given up a lot of track position and time on the racetrack compared to the others with 4 fresh tires on their race car for Dr. Feelgoods. But maybe Austin Collins knows something that we don't. I mean, that's why he's a champ. I'm certainly not. I'm up here in the booth. But he continues to run the top out there on those old tires. Last time by, he ran a 42.26. And let's compare that to Taylor Butcher Benjamin's 40 flat, or the 21's 39.88. So that's a lot. You're talking almost 3 seconds a lap. That's big.
It is big. Austin Collins, Thomas Harmon. Harmon came in last time. Austin Collins comes in this time. But one thing that I kind of want to, bring up, the more laps he stays out, the more laps difference he's going to have on those tires. He's going to be about 3 laps fresher than everybody. He can run potentially harder, and he'll have better lap times throughout the course of his run. So that'll be something to keep an eye on. He's probably going to lose the race lead to some of these guys who short pitted him. Taylor Butcher Benjamin sits out in front. The first guy to short pit got himself about a second over Richard Springer. Collins out of his pit. Taylor Butcher Benjamin looks to be able to pass him before Collins gets up off the pit lane. Nope, Collins off the pit lane, but loses the race lead to Taylor Butcher Benjamin. And Richard Springer gets around him as well. But like I said, Springer up into the wall. But like I said, Austin Collins, he stayed out a couple extra laps. Those are 3 laps fresher tires for him. He's going to be able to run a little bit harder and chase these guys down throughout the course of this run. And with only one more pit stop looming, this might be the perfect time to try a little bit of strategy call.
Well, there's one thing we know, and that's Austin Collins is the Rocket Man coming up through the field. We've seen that multiple times tonight here. So that's really not going to be a problem. I think he'll be able to just come up there like he normally has been able to. And you bring up a great point there. Yes, he is giving time up on the racetrack, but those ever so crucial laps on those race cars, we know how much one lap hurts those general tires. He's going to have 3 laps to the good on his set of tires. That's a great point. We're going to see how that plays out here as this race continues to wind on. But back to the point, there's a new butcher in town. That's Taylor the Butcher Benjamin, of course. That 8 machine out there carrying the torch in Southern California. He's your leader as they run right now.
Right now, but Richard Springer is chasing him down within 0.8 of a second this time around. Rocking that outside lane once again, but so is TBB. Taylor pitted a lap earlier, as you see. That's that Richard Springer machine, the 21, getting super sideways. We were on board with them there, but big moment there out of the 21.
Yeah, big moment, great save. But then again, I mean, this is what you come to expect from that this Gen 4 car, if you will. That setup, probably a little looser than what he wanted to there, as he had to climb the hill there and save it. But loose is fast and on the verge of out of control, right?
Allegedly, but even with that slide, that lap he was 0.2 of a second quicker than Taylor Butcher Benjamin, chasing down your race leader, getting within 0.6 now. Tell you what, that Richard Springer, he's looking to spoil the party here, try to add his name into the very short list of winners in this season. Obviously, Thomas Harmon and
Yeah.
Austin Collins have divvied up most of them. Taylor Butcher Benjamin able to get the job done last week at Martinsville. Hoping to get it done here at a polar opposite type of racetrack in Southern California here at Fontana.
Yeah, Richard just definitely trying to get sprung here in California. He is seeing red, looking like a possessed race car driver out there. Just the focus and determination and the speed and the drive in this 21 here tonight. You love to see it up here in the booth. You know, yeah, it's great seeing all the regulars up here, and they do such a great job. But when you get a newer guy, a newer face to the front up here and being so dominant up here tonight, just so happy for that 21 and what Richard's doing up there, and he is continuing to bring it. Want to see what he's got for these guys at the end when Austin Collins, Taylor Butcher Benjamin, and the 68 of Thomas the Hammer Harmon are at their best. To continue to ride on board, looking out the front hood of that Chevrolet Impala, ripping the top, rocking the top.
Yeah,
The car is still bad fast, and I'm liking it.
Springer had a phenomenal run there coming up off of turn number 2. There's the lapped car of McKenzie getting out of the way, but Springer is quicker than your race leader, Taylor Butcher Benjamin, right now. He's within 2-3 car lengths right now. He's sat actually about a lane and a half off of Taylor Butcher Benjamin, a lane and a half lower, and that has really been working with that 21 machine. He's within 2 car lengths getting down into turns 1 and 2. We'll see how the dirty air affects him. He tries that lower lane once again, moves down about half a lane, sticks with the 8 car, Taylor Butcher Benjamin. Quarter of a second is the gap, but the draft is going to go ahead and increase that. These guys got equal runs coming up off the corner once again.
Whoa.
That 21 moves down about that lane and a half. That's going to give him a chance to get right up to the back bumper of Taylor Butcher Benjamin. Not quite enough to get there. A car length and a half now separating these two. It's a 10th and a half at the line.
But how bad do you want it? That was a gutsy go by the 21 there, hanging on to it like that. I mean, he could have easily washed up the hill there, got into the wall, and he just manhandled that race car as he still continues to work, just as you said, about a car length and a half, or half a car length now, right off the back of that 8 machine being piloted by Taylor Butcher Benjamin, your leader right now.
Taylor trying to take away his line, enters in a little bit lower. Look at this, though. Here comes the 21 down to the inside. He's got a little bit of side draft. He's going to go ahead and take the lead at the line. Decisive factor. He's going to be able to come up and clear by a car length. Richard Springer leads the race at lap 84.
Richard Springer using the top of turn 4 as a launch pad, going down the bottom. Gonna outmotor the 8 on the straightaway, and he is now back to the point. Richard Springer in the 21 machine in prime time under the lights here, Southern California. You guys in the YouTube chat are liking him, cheering him on. Want to hear you guys cheer him on, cheer on your favorite drivers here tonight. Definitely give you guys a shout out. Let your drivers know that you guys care about them. You guys mean awful lot to these guys out here competing on the racetrack. And we certainly appreciate you being here, supporting their series and everything they do out there on the racetrack tonight. Richard Springer, he is on a tear.
Oh, he's in the wall.
Oh, he gets into the wall just a little bit.
He can't get up off of it. That's going to give TBB the chance to get down to his inside. Doesn't look like major damage to that 21. But, man, I tell you what, when you get up into that wall, that's real tough to get up off of it. And when, I don't want to say too much, but Austin Collins is within a second of the race leaders right now. He is absolutely on fire right now.
Yeah,
Well, you mentioned that YouTube chat. Matt Sisler jumped in. Said his wheel shut off coming up off of 4. That's why you saw him get sideways. Tough break for the 93 machine. We've got ourselves a phenomenal race for the lead right now.
Yeah, this is what you come to expect from the Gen 4 car in this racetrack, as these guys are just going toe-to-toe, lights out, ripping the top. Look how close these lines are, just a half a car length to the top, outside, inside, half lane, up, bottom.
Oh, Springer sideways cuts up off of right in front of Collins.
The wood just Hail Married it in from the bottom.
He had to check up for that sideways 21.
That was crazy. We're going to have to go back and look at that some point. As the 21 hit the nitro boosters.
21 is sideways. He's used up a lot of that right rear. Austin Collins jumps up into second place, and Collins has chased these guys down from a really big margin. Obviously, we talked about him pitting later than everybody else, and now he's got a little bit fresher tires. He's rocking that bottom side, looks to the inside of TBB. Not quite enough, but he knows he's quicker than both of these guys. Already got around the 21 of Richard Springer. Now he's got Taylor Butcher Benjamin in that Oreo Rich Chevy Monte Carlo right in front of him.
I mean, I know you said Austin Collins was coming, but that was coming. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a closing frame like that where it looked like he was going 40 to 50 miles an hour faster as he's now side by side with the race leader, Taylor the Butcher Benjamin. And out of nowhere, here is Austin Collins in that one machine saying, no, you're done talking about the 21 and the 8. I'm getting back at the topic of conversation here on the broadcast. And the one's going to put himself back to the point. Check the box up 12 spots. Austin Collins should be your leader going down into turn 1. Getting a great run here from Taylor Butcher Benjamin and Richard Springer working together. Able to reel him back in a little bit. But I believe that one's going to be able to carry that momentum as he has the better tires on the bottom. But look at the 8 fighting back on the outside. The one's going to come up, put the squeeze job on him. He's going to come underneath, but let's see. The 21's going to come up and help Austin Collins here. That should keep him about even drag race into turn 3 and 4. We go through the complex here. 21, what's he going to do as he sits back and watches these guys do battle? If one makes a mistake, you know he'll... As I was saying, if any one of those 8 or that one makes a mistake, the 21 will be there to capitalize. As it's the 1 at the line, the 8 and the 21 out there dogfighting right now for the top spot. As you see the 1 go way down to the bottom.
21, just a touch there on entry. That gives Taylor Butcher Benjamin the chance to get back down to the inside. Austin Collins has gapped these guys by over a second now, and that's 4 laps fresher tires for Austin Collins. 3 laps, rather, came in on 75. Andrew McKenzie seems to have crashed on the racetrack. No caution, though. He's able to jump to the pits right away. Austin Collins leads the race by a second and a half. Coming across the line here, Richard Springer, Taylor Butcher Benjamin racing hard for second place. These guys probably 10 or so laps away from their final pit stops. And that's barring we don't get a caution in these last 35 laps.
Yep, at this point, from what we've seen in the race tonight, I'm not going to mention that word anymore, and I'm not talking about, or I'm not going to be focusing on some of the greater points of these drivers. As I was praising the 21, and he caught the wall there. Commentator's curse almost on full display here tonight. Don't want to have any of that. But how about the battling that continues to go on between the 21 here and the 8? They just can't seem to get away from each other, as one is better in one end of the racetrack, and the other, Richard Springer's better in the other, and that just, it's like an accordion out there. It just brings them right back together again. We reset and we battle all over again. Meanwhile, Austin Collins came screaming into the picture, and he is checked out from these guys, has a 1.45 second lead over the second place battle out there on the racetrack. As we go back through the field a little bit, that 71 machine and the 42 with David Wright, they are at it again.
Into the pits comes the 29 PJ O'Leary. First one to come in for what could be the money stop. 32 laps of gas, though. That's a tough ask.
Yeah, lap 93. You're right. That's gonna be a lot to ask out of that fuel cell of that race car. We're gonna have to see how that plays out. As the battle between the 42 and the 71 continues to heat up. That's David Wright and James Jacobs for that 5th position. James Jacobs having a good night, up 9 positions. David Wright, he's standing kind of right where he started, up 1 in the 4th position. Game of cat and mouse here again on full display. Who's going to get the better run? Who gets the better drive into the corner? Who gets the better run off? It's all about being able to maximize that energy and momentum. It's so critical here at Auto Club, especially on older tires, just being able to keep that car rolling. And that 21 machine is doing a great job of that tonight. It's
Taylor
him
Butcher
and
Benjamin.
Taylor the Butcher.
It's down to his inside, trying to take second place away. The Austin Collins machine in front of him, getting away from this battle. Who's going to be the first one up front to blink? Who's going to come in this time? I think Taylor's looking to come in. Yep, Taylor's coming in.
Taylor Butcher Benjamin coming down pit road. He's going to get it low down to 55 miles an hour. That's pit road speed at that commitment cone. As he's coming down looking for his guys, he's got them lined up. His pit box. You've seen him pulling in here shortly. Go to work on that race car. Four tires of can of Sunoco race fuel. He'll be back out on the racetrack as Austin Collins now has a 2.5 second lead over the 21 of Richard Springer. So he's doubled it in that short amount of time we were away. I got to say, it is impressive how fast that one continues to be over this many laps. And I mean, rocking the bottom, how he's been. You're just not supposed to be able to do that. I'm sorry.
Springer comes in this time around, but yeah, I totally agree. It's not what I expected out of this race, but that one car able to rock the bottom better than anybody else and continues to put on a show, put on a clinic for the rest of these Dynasty Racing League drivers. Austin Collins, we'll see how much longer he stays out. Obviously, some of his closer competitors, being Richard Springer, Taylor Butcher Benjamin, they've already come into pit, taking that shorter run, or rather the undercut. But Austin went 3 laps further than the rest of them this past time around. We'll see how much further he goes this current pit cycle.
Yeah, like I was saying, and how it looked, and I can confirm it now, Austin Collins doesn't have the fall off either that some of the other drivers inside the top 3 and top 4 to have had. As last time by, he was at a 41.91 that lap, the lap before 41.71 compared to his best lap of a 40.12. So he's very consistent with his lap times. He's fallen off, but nowhere near as much as some of the other guys out there on the racetrack. And that could be why we see him staying out there longer, because his car is a little bit better maintaining its speed over the duration of the run. He's not giving up as much.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. When you talk about Austin Collins' fall off about 1.5 seconds from his fastest lap to his last few laps, a lot of these other drivers out on the racetrack are dealing with more than 2 seconds of fall off. So Austin Collins has something figured out in terms of tire saving, in terms of a long run on that car. And I tell you what, he's putting on a clinic for the rest of these drivers today. Right now leads the race over Thomas Harmon by about half a lap. However, a lot of the closer competitors to that one machine have already made their final pit stop, or what they hope to be their final pit stop. Taylor Butcher Benjamin sits in 4th place, right up behind that one machine, getting closer and closer, trying to unlap himself.
He's certainly going to make a bid for it, doing it the old-fashioned way. TBB, as you like to say, rocking the top side. Tonight, you go on board here as he's painting a bead on the back of the one. As Austin Collins continues to eat down low.
Matt Sisler very slow there on the entrance to pit lane, and Austin Collins had to check up just a little bit. I thought he might have been coming in that time, but he didn't. Jacob Glodulitz comes into the pits. He's got a little bit of damage on that right front.
That was a very soft entry onto pit road. As you pointed out, onboard camera, hopefully everything's okay there, as that entry just seemed a little light given the where we're at with the race right now. Continue to go back on board with the Rocket Man himself tonight, Austin Collins. What are they putting in that fuel cell? I'll tell you what, if this was real life, NASCAR officials would be all over that race car. But this is iRacing. Everyone's got the same stuff. We use anti-cheat, so that's not possible. It's the one decides now. Coming down pit road at the commitment cone, 55 miles an hour. That one, your leader, going for the money stop here tonight. As just 25 laps remain, as we are currently at lap 100. He eyes up his pit box. He's going to start cutting in Get that car stopped all inside the lines there. You don't want to overshoot the pit box. Lose costly time throwing that thing into reverse before that pit crew can go to work on the race car. Jet goes up. You watch the one get service. Here comes Mike Harmon. And I'm sorry,
Harmon.
Thomas Harmon. Thomas Harmon.
Here's
You get
Taylor
in my head
Butcher
that you got me
Benjamin.
thinking about it.
Taylor Butcher Benjamin gonna assume the race lead by a hefty margin, but Austin Collins on gonna be likely 10 or so lap fresher tires. We'll see if he's able to chase down that 8 machine as we have 25 laps to go here at Auto Club.
Where has this race gone? It seems like it has flown by as this racing has been everything we've expected and then some. Who would have guessed the start of the race, right? We've never seen that. And it started with a bang, and it continues to be high-octane action-packed as Taylor the Butcher Benjamin continues to just rip and grip the top. Coming by there at the start and finish line. Speeds over 200 miles an hour there, your leader, before he gets onto the brake as he shoots off into the corner. Car's nice, balanced, it's hooked up. It's the 29 of PJ O'Leary and Richard Springer. They are back to doing things out there on the racetrack in the form of a battle for second position. As it looks like the 21 has just left the 29.
Keep an eye on Austin Collins. He sits about 6 3/4 seconds off of Taylor Butcher Benjamin, but we expect him to be much quicker as we look at the numbers. 6 lap fresher tires than Taylor Butcher Benjamin. He's got a hefty gap to try to overcome here as we approach 20 laps to go. But Taylor Butcher Benjamin sits in the race lead right now. Some strategery playing out. Richard Springer sits in second place, 5 or so seconds up off the lead. Might have had himself a problem there racing with PJ O'Leary for third place, or second place rather. PJ sits in third. Austin Collins a couple of seconds behind these guys. Definitely doesn't want to get caught up in their battles. Now PJ hits the wall coming up off of turn number 4.
Oh, he just snuffed it too. That was not a light tap. I mean, he ate it. He took a good piece of it there. Hopefully the toe's not going to be knocked out too bad there. And here he comes, the Rocket Man himself, Austin Collins. Can he do it one more time tonight? If he can come into the frame half the way he did from that live broadcast, that live TV shot where he just came storming into the picture, it almost took out or almost made contact. He should be able to do it if he can maintain that type of pace. As he's just stalking right now the 29 of PJ O'Leary, as he's solely focused right now on Richard Springer. Hopefully he's aware that that one is lurking and coming up quick, fast, in a hurry. That's the one of Austin Collins, looking to make the rebound to the front one more time tonight.
Collins doing absolutely everything he can on these fresher tires. He's still, I mean, he's gaining on the race leader, Taylor Butcher Benjamin, but still over 6 seconds back. Tell you what, we're going to take one last quick turn it up break, and then we'll be right with you to the finish. Appreciate everybody tuning in live here on Sim Racing Media. Go ahead and drop your favorite drivers in the chat. We'll try to put them on the screen here with the last 20 laps at Auto Club. Back live here, 17 laps to go. Taylor Butcher Benjamin continues to lead the race over Richard Springer. He's got a very fast Austin Collins looking down to his inside, though, and that's less than 5 seconds. The gap from Collins to the race leader, Taylor Butcher Benjamin. Springer trying to put a hard fight up on that number 1 car. Gets a nice run up on the top side, but not going to be quite enough to get side by side. Maybe get side by side with him up into the corner, but does not play the side draft. But Austin Collins in P2. PJ O'Leary has had himself a problem. James Pandolf coming into the pit lane. TBB, 4.5 seconds. 16 laps to go. Going to be a tough ask for that 8 to try to keep that number 1 machine behind him of Austin Collins, but Taylor's made himself a bed. Got 15 laps to go to figure out if it works for him. PJ O'Leary comes into the pit lane. Austin Collins gains half a second that time around. Taylor with less than 3.5 seconds of a race lead. Now less than 3 seconds. Austin Collins massively quicker. 14 laps to go, and tell you what, I don't know how much of a fight this is really going to be.
And it's one fight I'm upset I'm missing as I caught a freak disconnect there. I'm back in the Discord, but I am not watching the racing action on the racetrack. However, I am back in the broadcast booth. I'll get up in there and join you back live just as soon as possible as I continue, as I assume you're watching Austin Collins out there in that 1 machine just rip it and dominate on that racetrack in the closing laps.
Yes, sir. Getting closer and closer to that number 8 machine. Taylor Butcher Benjamin, it's 2.5 seconds with 13 laps to go. Things starting to wind down here in Auto Club, and we're looking at a pass for the race lead within the last 10 laps, unless Taylor Butcher Benjamin has something in his sleeves. Maybe he's been saving something. Maybe he's been keeping a bit more tire on that race car, but he holds on to the race lead by just over 2 seconds with 12 laps to go. Austin Collins in second. David Wright has worked his way up to third. James Jacobs in fourth. The top 5 separated by 22.5 seconds. Richard Springer has come to the pit lane. Taylor Butcher Benjamin comes into the pits. These guys can't make it to the end, can they? Maybe Austin can, but it'll be interesting to see. Austin came in lap 100. Taylor Butcher Benjamin, David Wright, these guys last came in on lap 96. Can Collins make it to the end?
I'll be honest with you. I would have thought that they would have had enough fuel to make it to the end. I'm shocked to hear that the 8 of Taylor Butcher Benjamin has come down pit road. Austin Collins, like you said, lap 100. That would definitely make me sweat a little bit, as now that the race up front has changed the complexion a lot, the 1 really needs to go into conserve mode if possible.
Look at this, coming up off the pit lane. David Wright gets around Thomas Harmon. Or David Wright, rather, gets around Taylor Butcher Benjamin. Thomas Harmon still out on the racetrack in front of these guys. Austin Collins, though, 10 laps to go. He's got 10 seconds of a lead now. He can let off the gas. He can save quite a bit of gas. to
Like
try
I
to
was
make it to the end.
Yeah, like I was saying before, I got my eyes back, and I am live up here in the booth once again for the closing of this one. As Austin Collins, as you were saying, has a 10-second gap. He can go into hardcore conservation mode right now. He can lift way out of the throttle early. He doesn't have to run 100% wide open down the straights. If I'm his crew chief, I'm going to be telling him what lap times I want him to be seeing, having him dial it back to make sure he has enough fuel in that Impala SS to get him through the scheduled distance. Now, there's one big wild card that changes everything. We all know what I'm talking about. If you look here there at the 06 of Andrew Kenzie, who was strong early on in this one, just doesn't seem to have the finish in that car tonight. But Austin Collins continues to nurse that massive lead up front, still north of 10 seconds over James Jacobs in that 68 of Thomas Harmon. Ralph Forzano Jr. Senior in his first start here in the series tonight, having a very solid performance, up 12 spots in fourth. Well done, sir. And currently in fifth, the Butcher Benjamin, or TBB, he's in fifth.
At TBB sits just under a lap down with 8 laps to go. If Austin Collins has to pit, that might be the 8 car's saving grace. But I tell you what, Collins has done a phenomenal job keeping everything underneath him. He's been saving the tires great all race, and he's split up his segments in terms of fuel stints quite well. So 7 laps to go for Austin Collins. James Jacobs comes into the pits from second place.
Hey, looking at the lap times there, Austin Collins has been pretty much consistent. So that tells me he believes he has enough fuel in that cell to go the distance. As more drivers inside the top 5, that well is going to run dry before they make the scheduled distance, peeling down pit road for a splash and go. As we go back on board with the man on the move tonight.
Look at all that traffic in front of him. You got some 3-wide action just about in front of Austin Collins here. Collins has 6 laps to go, trying to hit the fuel number. Is he going to be able to get it done?
Yeah, that's the last thing that Austin Collins wants to see in front of him, is a heavy battle going on up in front of him. As you got to anticipate just about anything can happen out there on the racetrack in the closing laps. Is that one has to be gritting his teeth and gripping that steering wheel harder, just every bit more. Every lap that ticks on by. Is this time by at the line? Lap 121 live on the scoreboard now. Lap 120 completed.
5 laps to go for Austin Collins. This Auto Club race has absolutely delivered. It's given us cautions, it's given us crashes, it's given us all sorts of strategy calls. Now Austin Collins has to try to make it 5 more laps. The drivers closest to him after the last restart pitted earlier than he did, had to come in for some more fuel. Austin Collins last pitted on lap 100. He's got to go 25 laps to try to make it to the end. That one machine, looking stout, has not put a foot wrong all race. Can he get the job done in terms of fuel mileage here at the end?
I'm a firm believer in that man, in the abilities inside that race car. He's a champion. He's a veteran, well respected amongst his competitors. I totally expect that one to make it on fuel in that race car. I didn't see his lap times falling off when we were expecting to see him dial it back when others dove into pit road. He's just gonna play it safe. He's not gonna push the car harder than he needs to. He doesn't want to have a freak. He doesn't want to have a freak moment there, get in the wall as he comes by. This time, one more lap clicks off the board at the start finish line for that one machine. It has to feel like an eternity for him inside this race car right now. Traffic up in front of him. This 2-mile racetrack, one of the biggest ovals on the circuit that is not considered a super speedway. So we see the 22 getting out of the way there of James Goodman back in 12th right now, just outside the top 10. The one goes on by, working through the turns 3-4 complex.
Yeah, and that's a 20 1 second lead over second place Thomas Harmon. Meanwhile, Richard Springer, we've got 2 laps to go for the race leader, 3 laps to go for these guys, just about. Richard Springer all over the back bumper of David Wright in the 42. Springer goes down to the bottom, trying to take advantage of the 42, getting up next to the wall.
Hold on to it.
Big slide there out of the 21. That's going to kill his momentum just a bit, but seems like he's still able to stay door to door with that 42, getting down the back straightaway. Into turns 3 and 4, Richard Springer gets that pass completed, put him into 4th place. But Austin Collins just behind these guys. He's going to have 1 lap to go.
One more lap.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
let's
one
take
lap
this
to
home.
go for one more lap to go for the man in Hollywood tonight, and that is the one of Austin Collins, looking like Fireball Roberts of old out there from back in the day, just torching the competition and burning up the asphalt here on this racetrack tonight. No problems for the one machine, showing why he's been number 1 in this series throughout the course of his tenure, as he goes back through the turns 3 and 4 complex one more time, work in the middle of the racetrack. He can see the flag from there. As he rounds the corner, comes on down, he's going to dive down to the bottom of the racetrack at the start-finish line. Your winner here in prime time from Hollywood, California, that is the one of Austin Collins in dominating fashion. That was certainly impressive. Big statement win from the one machine. For second place tonight, there he is, Thomas Harmon, the Hammer Harmon, coming up just a little bit short. Great rebound in that 68 machine. And in third, you guessed it, these guys always find themselves together battling on the racetrack. How about Taylor Butcher Benjamin TBB following up his win last week with a podium finish in the 3rd position? And Richard Springer, big shout out to that man. He drove a heck of a race tonight, up front most of the night in that 21 machine. He's in 4th. David Wright comes home 5th. That's your top 5 as they run right now.
Sir, and we're going to go ahead and bring your winner up into the booth before he gets his burnout done. That's not usually what we do, but we'll try to get him up in here while he's burning it down. You see Thomas Harmon all over the back bumper, giving him some love, giving him something there. But we've got Austin Collins up in the broadcast booth. We see Thomas Harmon trying to lift your back tires up off of the ground. Go ahead and burn it down for us, buddy.
Barely got enough for you. Oh, and we're out. So that's all you get.
Yeah, I was just about to ask, how much fuel did you have left in that race car? We noticed the guys behind you had to come in and make a pit stop, but...
Yeah, I think when I crossed the finish line there, I had 0.2 gallons. I know it was real close there. What was it, like lap 25, I think, whenever the last caution came out. I knew you could get about 25 laps if you ran slower. So I knew clutching would be pretty close the whole way. And I mean, if you're able to just clutch from the get-go when you drop a green, you're able to stay that lap. So that's all I did. And lucky that we didn't get no cautions there.
Yeah, I mean, you drove a flawless race. I mean, virtually the whole thing, but especially after those cautions came out. Kind of walk us through the challenges of the green flag pit stops.
Well, I knew there at the beginning, me and Thomas, we talked about it. He was in the Discord with me tonight. We talked about making it from that lap 25. And when we first came down, for whatever reason, he didn't get tires. It just didn't give him his tires. And so he fell way off. And nobody else had made it that extra lap when we did there. So I knew at that point all I had to do was just not speed on pit road and not spin out, which very good possibility with how loose it was here tonight with this new package.
Rock on, man. You put together a phenomenal race. Obviously, didn't have enough fuel to burn it down, but you've got to have enough fuel to thank some folks. Who do you want to thank for such a strong run here today?
Yeah, I got to thank you all for doing the broadcast. I appreciate it. I love going back and watching it. Thank JP for putting on the league and all the drivers that show up and race with us. Especially, I thank the night for that 100 lap green flag run right there. Without them, I wouldn't have been here. I thank my teammates tonight that were in Discord with me. Technically not XLR guys, but they were next to our chat with me. So I got to thank Thomas and Matt and PJ for hanging out with me.
Well, rock on, man. You got the job done. You kept it down to just 3 winners on the season. We'll go ahead and send you back to your team to go ahead and celebrate.
I appreciate you. Have a good one.
That was your race winner. Now we're going to go ahead and take second place, Thomas Harmon. And Matt, I believe you're up with Thomas.
Thomas Harmon, Matt in the booth. You got me, sir.
Yeah, I got you.
Thomas, we had a little bit of a freak change in the iRacing oval track community this week. They said it was a glitch. Others said it was planned. Anyways, you got new power in that hot rod down there. How much did that affect the way this car drove and the way that you attacked this race here tonight?
Well, honestly, I ran about the same line that I normally would. The high side was a lot stronger more early on than what you would normally expect. Outside of that, it felt fine to me. First lap was scary because that thing would occasionally get a little death wobble and on fresh tires. Yeah, tires are definitely important. I need to remind my pit crew of that next time.
Yeah, that death wobble you're describing there on new tires, it almost looked like maybe the car was bottoming out there on brand new tires coming into one. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, it was only for the first lap, but it would sometimes just show up randomly on that first lap. Sometimes it would, sometimes it wouldn't, sometimes it would.
Yeah, I caught that up here from the booth, and I wasn't sure if that was if it was the tires. And then after I seen a couple other guys have a similar instance, I thought maybe that was the case. So thank you for that. It wasn't an easy race for you tonight. You had to really fight and work for it. How did you get back up to the second place position here at the end?
Well, after my pit crew decided to job me over by not giving me tires in those first green flag stops, I had to go with the fuel strategy because that was the only way that I was going to get anywhere near a top 10 finish on this in this race. Yeah, I had to clutch from the word go on each of the runs. Otherwise, I was so frustrated not getting those tires.
Yeah, that's one of the rare things that can happen, but it does. When you come down pit road, sometimes they just decide you don't need tires. And at a racetrack like this, where it's ever so critical, that was a huge deficit. And he was able to overcome that with obviously your long range speed, your long run speed, and fuel stops on that race car. Still able to drive it up back to second place here tonight, up 9 spots. Thomas, before we let you go, who helps you get it done on that 68? As you and the one seem to be, little extracurricular activities out there on the racetrack.
Yeah, he was a little low on fuel, so I figured I'd push him around so that way we can get a burnout in. Yeah, shout out to you guys up in the booth for broadcasting to everybody each week, all the fans that show up, all the drivers that show up, and JP for putting on the lead.
There he is tonight. The 68 machine overcomes pit stop issues big time here tonight to rally back all the way into the second place position. The current most winning driver and your points leader in the series, that is Thomas the Hammer Harmon. Liam, back to you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thomas Harmon getting that second place taken care of today. Hoped for one more, but gonna round out our second spot on the podium. Now we're gonna go ahead and bring in Taylor Butcher Benjamin to the broadcast booth. Taylor, you had yourself a strong race. I thought you might have had something for him at the end, but you had to make a pit stop when the rest of them didn't. Kind of walk us through those late stages of the race, your strategy there.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping for a late caution, actually, because it took me a while to figure out what Austin was doing as far as saving fuel. But then once I kind of realized it, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to, that kind of was dictated on my driving style. And I don't know how he was able to run 25 laps each time, both him and Thomas. I mean, definitely hats off to those two. But yeah, pretty good speed all race for the whole DPR gang, me and David and Richard. Given what happened on the very first lap, I'm was really lucky to get out of that with only a minute of damage. It's a lot of impatience on the start, but luckily we're able to recover, and all of us came in the top 5.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that initial start there. You started up on the pole. Matt Sisler got up in there, and I believe the two maybe didn't realize he was 4 wide. A little contact happened, and you guys got turned right away from the get-go. How was the recovery effort from your team? And I suppose you said you had a minute of repairs there. Didn't have to take that fast repair that first time, right?
Yeah, well, we don't have fast repairs, so that definitely
goodness.
plays into it. that that would have been nice to have, though. But yeah, as far as the actual wreck itself, I know we were at least 3 wide, maybe even 4, but all I know is just really didn't need to happen. But besides that, I didn't really get hit that hard on the front, so I didn't really lose any straightaway speed. I think it was mainly just on the body and a little bit of aero. But I know David had a bit of a different kind of way of having the. I know he had a lot more damage. He got together with, I think it was the 06 car after that. So all 3 of us definitely had to. Actually, Richard had a clean race. I kind of forgot. But me and David definitely had our work cut out for us getting back to the front. But we made it, so I guess we can't complain too much about our results tonight.
Well, rock on. You guys definitely threw together a great show. Even with that pit stop, you come away with a podium finish. Is there anybody you want to thank for such a strong performance here?
Well, definitely David and Richard. Shout out to them, of course, for besides the recovery efforts, just the flat speed we had. And definitely got once again take the hat off to Austin and Thomas. I think Thomas, from what I was understanding, had a little issue with like not getting tires for some reason on a pit stop, and that might have been what caused him to go into save mode, but it benefited him, so that's pretty remarkable. But yeah, looking forward to next week. Thanks for James, of course, putting on the league. I know next week is Charlotte, and I love that place and have a pretty good record there in this league. So definitely looking forward to it. And of course, thanks to you guys for doing the broadcast for us.
Well, rock on. That's Taylor Butcher Benjamin. Your 3rd place finisher rounds out the podium. Go ahead and send you back to your team there, and that's gonna about finish this one out. We had ourselves a phenomenal race here at Auto Club. A bunch of cautions, not really a bunch, but a flurry of cautions to start this thing, but almost a 100 lap green flag run to finish it out. Austin Collins gets the job done. 2nd place was Thomas Harmon. Switch up the graphic there. 3rd was Taylor Butcher Benjamin. We talked to all 3 of them. Richard Springer gets a 4th place finish. David Wright rounds out the top 5 and the lead lap finishers. JP James Pandolf in 6th. James Jacobs, PJ O'Leary, Jacob Glodulich, and Matt Burgess rounding out the top 10. 11th was James Goodman, Ralph Fasano Sr., Andrew McKenzie, Larry McKenzie Jr., Matt Sisler, and Chris Vander showed up. Might have been race control. Didn't get a lap in. Shows up in 16th on the grid. I tell you what, Matt, our first race with what we should expect to be the regular now, this high horsepower, this high speed package, definitely delivered. What are your kind of final thoughts here?
Right off the bat, and I know this is sim racing, but NASCAR, why is this track off the circuit? How could you let this gem go? As we just got to see what it was like in this car, and what a race tonight is. I reminisce back to the mid 2000s, listening to these cars scream by at the song of 9,700 RPM into turn 1. It was It was everything we thought it was going to be. We had a start, an explosion, massive catastrophe at the start of this race that we did not anticipate. We had early cautions. We had drama. We had the drive by the one of Austin Collins, the speed demon, the speed freak, Freak Nasty. How did he get that kind of speed out of that race car? Just, it was amazing. It was exhilarating. It was everything you would have expected and then some. But then again, you got to remember who's out there. It's the boys from the Dynasty Racing League, and we know what they bring to the track every single time they hit it. They left California torched here tonight in prime time. Austin Collins gets it done. And everyone on the YouTube channel for coming out and supporting us and your favorite drivers tonight. If you didn't subscribe, ring the bell. Make sure you do to know to tune in next week when we get back to the racing action next Saturday night.
Well, Matt, you put it beautifully. I don't think I could finish it off any better. So, yeah, like you said, if you're not subscribed yet, go ahead and do that. Hit the bell so you never miss a race. We've got phenomenal racing action 7 nights a week. Appreciate everybody tuning in. We'll go ahead and catch you next time. I'm Liam Everig for Matt Mettler. It's been Sim Racing Media for the Dynasty Racing League.